How's it going, everyone? Greg here with RC Driver, and I have a fun little video for you guys today. I love accessories, putting accessories on bodies and stuff like that. You know, detailing a trail truck is a lot of fun, and other vehicles as well. And one of the companies that I turn to often, if you haven't figured it out already, from all of our other videos, is Proline. I think Proline really makes some great stuff in the RC market. Obviously here I've got the Proline Bronco body that I painted before. I've got their cage on top, and now I'm going to add a little bit more Proline to this particular body. I just have it sitting here on my SCX-10. It's a deadbolt, which is what this body is actually for, but the body is actually going to go on a different project, but just threw it over there so you guys could see what it looks like kind of sitting on a truck. And then what I'm going to do actually here is put a Proline roof rack on this. Now this roof rack will bolt right onto this cage that Proline makes. They have 4 little bosses here where you can go and mount the roof rack to. And then actually what I'm going to do is put a light bar on it as well. And Proline already has the provisions to put the light bar right onto this roof rack, which is pretty cool. But if you're looking for a light bar, Proline makes some really cool light bars. I ran one at Axial Fest last year. It was pretty much, I just had a 4-inch light bar like this on top of my truck. That's all I had on it, really. I think I had one other small set of lights up front, but this thing right here really lit the way. It was pretty intense how much light comes out of this. So again, if you are looking for a light bar set, check out what Proline has. They have this straight 4-inch bar here. They have a short bar. They have a longer 6-inch bar and curved. And what I'll do is I'll put a link to Proline below so you can see that if you are looking for a light bar set. But beyond just talking about the accessories here, I wanted to talk about how to actually hook up a light bar such as this one here, because some people don't know. Some people that are just getting into RC don't really know where the power source comes from with one of these. So, and there's multiple ways to do it, and everybody has their preferred way. I'm just going to show you a really easy way for those of you who are getting into RC how to power one of these up. But first, let's just take a closer look at this stuff. Let me just maybe just start bolting some of this stuff together. That'll just show you what comes with the light bar. So they give you a little bag of hardware here, which is pretty neat to give you all that stuff. So you can bolt this thing onto a number of different vehicles, and there is a bunch of adapter brackets here, some brackets that go on tubes and some hard mounts and stuff like that. So again, really nice multiple vehicle type of light bar set up here. And then here is the light bar itself. That looks like a really nice light bar. Just love the finished look of it. I think they did a great job. It's got a little PL logo on the back, and then of course it's got these swivel brackets on the side, and then you could swap it out with these brackets. So definitely a nice piece from Proline there. And then onto the roof rack itself. Comes really nicely packaged as well. And just like the light bar there, it comes with all this hardware. Again, got button head screws, locking nuts, even some washers in there. And then of course it's got some brackets here as well. And it looks like some washers and stuff. So again, just a multiple function type of setup. And then here is the roof rack itself. Really nice molded piece, looks realistic. This top bar is actually already screwed onto the deck for you, so that's pretty cool. And look, it just drops right on here. Got these little drop downs here, and it just goes right in there, and the screws will help secure it. And then what I'm going to do here is go and put the light bar assembly right in the center there. All right, now let me throw this together. I'm going to show you what it looks like. There it is. I just finished installing the light bar. It looks pretty cool inside that roof rack, and it was a little bit of a struggle. There are these little brackets here that kind of have to slide over the bar in order to secure the light, and these are made out of a pretty firm composite plastic. So what I did was I actually put them in some hot water, let them sit there for a few minutes just to soften up a little bit, then used a screwdriver to help me slide the little bracket over the bar there. But after that, it was just 4 screws to hold it on, and it looks very cool. And like I said, it just sits right on here on this Proline cage. It bolts right on. But if you were to bolt it on something else, Proline gives you all these little mounting type of bracket or hardware pieces here, and they're pretty neat. So it's actually like a ball and cup style mount here. So if your roof is kind of curved, this should help kind of make up that curve so your body isn't pinched and it doesn't really flex the body or anything like that once you go and tighten the roof rack down to it. So that's a pretty neat little setup there all together. Really like what Proline did with that particular. They put a lot of thought into it, basically. So once you do go and mount it to your particular body, you're going to want to run the wire down, obviously, in through the body. And to do that, you're going to need to drill a hole. So what you could do is you could use your body reamer, basically go and find an area where it's really not going to be visible. Try to preserve the scale look of your body or whatever you do it. and find a small area to make a hole that'll allow the plug to go through. And once you do make that hole and route your wires through there, then you could use some zip ties to maybe attach it to the bar of a cage if necessary. Now the question that remains is, how do you power the light bar? And that's where some people get a little bit hung up, and there are multiple ways to do it. So what I'm actually going to suggest for this particular light bar are some Wye harnesses, and I have some Wye harnesses over here, or an extension harness. Actually, there's actually two different types, a couple different types that you could buy, but these are the most common. So this is actually what's called a servo extension lead, and this one over here is a Wye harness. It's actually got two sets of pins here, and what you do with these is you plug these into the receiver. So what you do is you locate your receiver. Obviously, a lot of the times in a trail truck such as this, it's inside of a receiver box. Actually, a lot of ready-to-runs nowadays are the receiver's located in a receiver box. And with this, it's just two screws. They'll pop that cover off. And the thing is you know, to go and pop your receiver cover off to plug in this wire all the time just isn't going to happen. You're going to get frustrated doing that. Doesn't make sense to do that, and so that's why you use one of these extensions. So you grab an extension of the length you think you're going to need. This one might be a little too long, but it's not a big deal. And you just find an open channel inside your receiver. So I have an open channel number 3 here, and even the battery port will work, but I often tend to use an auxiliary or a third channel or something. So I'll go and I'll plug this in, and I'll just run this wire out of the opening of the receiver box, and then I'll put my cover back on. And so now when I go and I take the body off for maintenance or whatever, and I have to unplug the light bar, I could just access it really easily and don't have to keep pulling the receiver box off. Now, if you want to use a Wye harness such as this, you would use that if you have multiple things to power. And just, again, it makes a nice cleaner setup. So you route this into the receiver and leave it hanging out so you could access that particular plug. All right, so let me just pop this back on really quickly. And so there it is, just kind of hanging out. Now you could do a couple of other things. You could go put a little piece of two-sided tape on here, maybe attach it to something like a front shock hoop or something with a zip tie and some two-sided tape just to secure it so it's not flopping around. Definitely don't want wires flopping around inside of a vehicle. That could cause them to fray and maybe break, and you can it'll have some electrical gremlins later on. So do yourself a favor, try to secure things if necessary. And now, you know, as I said before, now when I put my body on, I'll be able to plug this in, and it's just an easier access type of setup. Now, the other thing you can do, these particular lights here from Proline, they're 6 volt all the way to 12 volt. So a lot of people like to run like a 3S battery because it's got 11.1 volts. It'll really make a really bright light setup in some vehicles, you know, depending on what type of lights you get. But this is really cool that it's got that type of range. So the other thing that people like to do is maybe go and put a harness right on their speed controller. I actually did this for a different vehicle that I have. Another project that I have going on. I need to run a power source out. So I soldered this jumper onto the posts here. If your speed controller doesn't have posts, what you could also do is solder it to the connector. So what I would do with this particular star connector is I'd pop this bottom plastic piece off, I'd solder the positive and negative right to the tabs, and then slide the lower base back on the connector. And it's a nice clean setup. So that's another way to do it. Now, I do want to warn you, when you do this type of direct solder setup, when you go and plug your battery in, obviously your lights are going to turn on. Sometimes not a big deal if you're going to go out and run. It's after you run is the problem. You're going to have to remember that you need to unplug your battery, because this is obviously going to be powering the lights. The lights are going to be draining the power, and you don't want that drain to drop your lithium polymer battery below its safety voltage. So just keep that in mind if you go with a direct solder method. And so those are really the basics of setting up a light bar. And like I said, Proline has some very cool lights. And actually, let me show you this setup on a couple of other rigs. I think it looks really good, just so you guys get an idea of, you know, some of the type of things that you could do just by bolting on some, you know, custom accessories, some Proline accessories. It'll obviously look really good on that truck. I grab this Rubicon here. I think it'll actually look good on that Rubicon as well. And again, it'll bolt up really easily with all that hardware that Proline gives you, all those different brackets. Let's see how it looks on this FC here. think it'll actually look good on here as well. Just might be hard to get to the body clips there, but actually if I use those little ball and socket mounts, it'll raise it up probably just enough so I could slide the body clips in with a pair of needle nose pliers. But how cool does that look? I think that looks pretty neat. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the links for this stuff in the description below, so definitely check that out. All right, guys, I hope that answered any questions you may have had on how to install a light bar on your particular vehicle, how to wire it up nice and simple. And again, these Pro Line accessories look very cool. Definitely check them out. Thanks for watching our video. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notifications button, give the video a like, and of course, when you have some extra time, head over to rcdriver.com.